Ladies, gentlemen, boys, and girls. Andy here and Imogen there.
Hi.
Hi. You have no idea what we're talking about today
No, I
because
asked you multiple times and you refused to tell me.
I kept it secret because I want to
Mm.
hit you with a hard hitting question first of all, right? This is actually an interrogation. It's not an interview, it's not a hangout.
Mm.
Why do you like older men?
Because younger men are a bit annoying. I think there's more a sense of like younger guys on average probably don't have their shit together.
Okay, anyone out there who's younger, you're doing a great job. But yeah, I thought to give more context, I thought we'd sit down, have a chat about why you like older guys. I'm 12 and a half years older than you. We met when I was like 30, you were 18.
Mm-hmm.
Thought it might be a fun little topic because there's a lot of guys out there that are in their 30s
Mm.
and they worry that younger women won't be into them. Like they might be into, I don't know, 18 to 25-year-old women.
Mm.
And they're 30 something and they're like, I can't get with younger women. I'm too old. They'll think I'm weird. They'll think I'm creepy. You are a really good example of someone who specifically wants older men. Like
Yeah.
I'm probably too young for you. I'm a baby compared to what you'd probably sleep with a 104 octogenarian.
No, we did have the discussion actually, like what the upper limit is
Yeah,
for
for
like
you.
each of us. And we also talked about it with Bronwyn as well, I think. And mine is quite high, as long as they're like fit and in shape.
Yeah,
But
what's your highest? What's the highest? You're what, 23 now?
yeah,
24? How old are you?
I'm 24.
I don't keep track.
I know you don't. Probably like 60s, but you need to be like it's not like average 60-year-old. It's to be
60
like
year old into self
yeah,
improvement.
like in
Yeah.
shape 60-year-old, which is quite rare, which I'm
Yeah.
aware of. But
And a lot of guys will have this big fear of like, if I get to my 30s, like some of you listening will be in your 20s. You and I have had this discussion quite a bit. There's so
mm,
many guys that are like 20, there's some of you that are like 21, 22, 23, and you're already feeling like it's too late for me.
hmm.
And it's like, oh, sweet child, you're in your early 20s.
Yeah. And little caveat, like there's always going to be like younger women that aren't into older guys and only
Hmm.
want to date people their age. But there's so many women that are also into older guys. So it's
Yeah.
not about making everybody like you.
Yeah. And I think there's this over obsession with like playing not to lose a lot in dating where guys and women will do it too. They'll focus on the people who don't want them or
Mm.
don't want what they're offering, the women that aren't into older guys. And then they'll go, see, this woman isn't into older guys. And I've met 5 women that said I was too old for them. So therefore, it's too late for me. I shouldn't try it, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, what about the 5,000 million billion women that want older guys or are ambivalent to it? They don't care as long as you have other things to offer. So in dating, it can be so easy to focus on, I guess you would say, the rejections, but the people that don't want what you want. But yeah, there's so many people out there that want older guys.
Yeah, and I think it's exactly what you said about like being into self improvement and
Mm,
having your life together. And I think for me, that's always been like the attractive feature. Like if I met somebody younger who had all of the qualities of somebody older, I
mm.
would probably be into them. If
So
it,
it's less about the age, it's more what the age represents for you.
yes, because
Okay.
it's like you don't, guys like in their 20 to 25 type age range, a lot of the time they're still studying
Yeah,
or have
you
just
haven't
gotten a
really had a
job.
chance.
Sometimes they
Yeah.
still live at home. And those are the qualities that I find less attractive versus a guy that has his own place, has a job, has some direction in life, has some self assurance, some confidence, is better able to make decisions.
Mm.
I think those are the qualities that on average more older guys have, and therefore it's something that I'm more into.
Yeah, and a lot of women are. In my big Tinder guide, in the fifth chapter, I have a section on like retaining people, like how to be a person that people would want to stick around and keep dating.
Mm.
And part of what I have here is like this bit here, having your shit together, have your own life going on, be a decent person, have your own apartment, keep that apartment clean, be financially stable, have a job, you know, have some sort of sense of humor to the point where you have a little bit of confidence in yourself and you don't take yourself too
Mm.
seriously, be positive. I talk about confidence, feel deserving of having women stick around, don't be too needy, don't be controlling, like all this sort of stuff
Mm.
is stuff that's easier and easier the older you get. But when you're in your early 20s, like I was, or when I was in my early 20s. We were all in our early 20s,
At
we're
some
older
point in
than that, yeah.
time, yeah.
But when I was in my early 20s, yeah, I didn't have my own apartment. I
Mm.
lived with my parents for a little while and then I moved out and then I moved back and then I moved out. I definitely wasn't confident.
Mm.
I definitely didn't know who I was or my place in the world. And just these things, which kind of come with age, can make you a much more attractive person to some people. Again, some women will go, no, I want guys around my age. But yeah, if you're one of those guys that's sort of worrying, when I get to my 30s, it'll be too late for me. Or when I get to my 40s or 50s, I'll be too old. It's like I'm getting closer to 40. I'm 37, 5 months or 6 months away from being 38. Not that far from my 40s. It's like life, if anything, gets easier because you get more confident in who
Mm.
you are. I'd say dating gets easier. You are more polarizing the older you get.
Mm.
Like you get to a point where, like, I'm sure when I'm in my 50s, there will be a lot of women who go, that's too old for me.
Yeah.
Like, not interested.
Yeah.
Great. And then there'll be some women that go, great, I like older guys. So I think this stuff gets easier if you embrace the fact that you will be more polarizing. But again, so many people focus on the losing part.
Yeah, and if you are somebody that is a bit younger, like don't take this big list that you were reading out before as like, oh, holy shit, like I need to hurry up and get all of these things done. Like
Yeah,
it's
all this stuff here, yeah.
like naturally, if you've had more years on the earth, you're going to have time to tick those off. And so if you are a bit younger, you can just slowly kind of work your way through improving those things. And even if you have like start having a couple of those things like that self-assurance or a direction for yourself, like just that alone can be like a hugely attractive factor.
Yeah, and I even said that in the guide. Like, I have this bit here. Don't feel overwhelmed by this massive list. I know there's a lot here. Just slowly work on a few items at a time, improve bit by bit, and you'll gradually piece it all together and build up your retention rate.
Mm.
Yeah, it's not things that. I also like that I wrote this guide. I wrote this guide so long ago, I can't fully remember everything I put in here.
Mm.
But a lot of these retention factors aren't things you need to do. They're things you are. Yeah, you just become the person who's a bit more confident. You become the person that's been focusing on self improvement for so long that you've built an awesome life. Like, that's just who you are. And when you're in your early 20s, yeah, you just haven't had enough time to build that stuff up. And something else that we didn't say is none of the people will often take this stuff as a comparison. Like, what's the best age to date? Is it easier when I'm 20? Is it easier when I'm
Mm.
30? What's better? Is it better to be a guy in your 20s or a guy in your 30s? It's not about better. It's like whoever you are right now, just work on improving a little bit at a time. There are plenty of women that will date guys in their early 20s. There are plenty of women that will date guys in their 30s or 40s or 50s. You got a lot of options. But yeah, let's bring it back to the original topic, which is like why you specifically want older guys. When you and I met, we met on Tinder.
Mm.
And you had specifically searched for older dudes, right? Like, I think I even asked you the question, would you have gone out with some guy who was 18?
Like I probably could have.
Could have is not exactly a raving fucking review.
Like I think and I might be wrong because it was a long time ago and I don't necessarily recall, but my age range on Tinder was probably set like 18 to like 35 or something.
Hmm.
And that was a very intentional thing, yes, because I was into somebody old. I just wanted somebody to take the lead. And I think
Hmm.
because I was specifically seeking out BDSM and kink and dominance, I didn't necessarily trust that somebody younger was going to be able to be like a male dominant.
Yeah, like he just hadn't had enough time to
Yeah,
practice.
because if
Yeah.
you're 18, 19, 20, you've probably not been having sex for all of that many years, let alone kinky
Yeah.
sex, let alone like being the dominant one, taking the lead. And there was almost a level of like, I don't necessarily trust somebody that young will be able to look after me in the bedroom if we are doing something that's a little bit more kinky or even just like know how to help me have a good time.
Yeah, and there's a confidence that comes as you age. Like any of you that are in your early 20s, I know the feeling, and this applies to all you women listening too. I know the feeling of insecurity, of self doubt, of feeling like you don't know your place in the universe, you don't know your place in the world, you don't know who you are. You worry so much about what other people think about you because you've only just left high school recently. If you're
Mm.
like 21, you only left high school like 3 years ago. That stuff still has a little bit of hold on your psyche. Like in school, the whole mission is to one, not get bullied, two, get validation, and three, just fucking make it through.
Mm.
Like that is literally the only point of school. You're there to learn as well, obviously, but like the thing you care the most about is like, holy fuck, I hope that these people around me don't hate me. And maybe I can go so far as to say, I hope they like me, but I hope they at least don't hate me. When you're in the real world, like when you leave school, that still affects maybe, I don't know, for like 3 to 5 years, how you act. It's like
Mm.
you're insecure about like, what if my boss doesn't like me? What if I lose my job? You almost have to quit your job or lose your job a couple of times to realize nothing bad happens. You're also terrified of like, what if I walk up to a woman and hit on her and she thinks I'm a loser and then, oh, I get ostracized, because you're still in that mindset of school where, yes, if you did walk up to a bunch of people at school and hit on them, yeah, they all might start gossiping and ultimately that would be fine. But like, you wouldn't believe that that's fine when you're in school. You'd be like, holy shit, I'm stuck in this prison where everyone's gossiping about me. I should commit suicide. Like, it can be overwhelming. And so you almost just need the passage of time a little bit to give you a sense of self, a sense of I don't care what other people think about me. And again, that just kind of comes with age. And so any of you listening, if you're in your early 20s and you're feeling a bit lost or you're feeling a bit like, fuck, I don't know who I am, that's normal. Just work on figuring out who you are 1% at a time each week, each month, each year. Like, it's a gradual process of something that you just accomplish by making friends, by going out there in the world, by having goals, by achieving them, by figuring out who you are, by trying some new hobbies and dating a little bit, making some mistakes. They're not mistakes, they're learning lessons, but you only grow up by living, really. And so if you're in your early 20s, I promise it gets easier. But that's one of kind of the benefits of being an older guy and an older woman too. Like, women go through the same thing. By the time you hit your 30s, you're like, okay, I think I know what I'm doing a little bit. And then hopefully by the time you hit your mid 30s or late 30s, you're like, okay, I think I have some sense of the world. And maybe by the time you're in your 40s or 50s, you're like, all right, I think I got a decent grasp of this life thing. You're still learning, you're still growing, you're still evolving and all of that. But yeah, I feel like everything just gets easier as an older guy. And that's obviously what you were seeking. Just a guy that's like, all right, he's in his 30s, he probably has his shit together. Now, are there not guys in their 30s who do not have their shit together?
Correct.
Yeah.
And so maybe we can use this as an example. So when I first started using Tinder, you were the second person I'd met off Tinder. And the
Lucky number 2, baby.
never heard that one before. And the first person that I met off Tinder actually was, funnily enough, in a lot of ways very similar to you, and was also into kink and BDSM, and the sex was good, but I think life-wise had, I guess, less going for him in the sense that sometimes he would complain about work and money and probably hadn't progressed super far or just didn't have that self-assurance, was
Like,
more,
was he ambitious?
no, and
Yeah.
felt more like a victim to circumstance and somebody that was actively trying to change that. Because for full context, you did not have much money at all when I met you. In fact, you were
I
like
was a poor little boy.
slowly
Yeah.
like sending yourself into like more and more
I'd
debt.
taken out a massive bank loan to move to the center of the city to go all in with my dating life and self-improvement, stuff like that. Yeah. So I had negative money.
Yeah, and you never like spent like money on me or paid for anything, but it was more the way that you carried yourself and that you weren't a victim and that you were a bit more sure of yourself that made you more attractive in my eyes. And
Which is funny because I was not sure of myself. And I think I made that pretty clear to you. I was like, I'm a work in progress.
I think I don't know if we've talked about this much before, but when we met, you're probably still coming out of like your red pill, alpha
A little bit.
male
Yeah.
type.
Yeah, so I was a little bit
Stage.
cold and standoffish at times.
Yeah.
I was still doing a lot of the honesty stuff though. I made it really clear to you, like, I'm a work in progress. Here's the goals I'm working on. Here's what I'm doing. What goals are you into? Can I help you with that?
Yeah, but it was very much presented with the front of like, I know what I'm doing. I'm sure of the direction that I'm going in. And I think
Okay.
that was what I found to be attractive versus,
Like, I had a plan, and even if it didn't work out, that's fine. I'll just adjust the plan and keep going. Like a man on a mission almost.
yeah. And yeah, that's ultimately why like two very similar people, I did end up wanting to see you more and felt myself like drawn more towards you. And so like the other guy was, yeah, example, because he was the same age. I think he was 30 as well. And it really, yeah, the age wasn't so much a factor when it came to what I found attractive in him. It was like the sex and he was confident in that. But the other areas of his life, I then found that less attractive. And also, this is probably like a small personal thing for me, but like texted in a very like young sort of way with like lots of abbreviations and emojis. And that just wasn't, that's actually something that I read as
That's
quite,
probably you specific.
no, that's
yeah.
me specifically. That's just, that's very much a me thing, but I read that as very young and very high school. And I also found that that's something that didn't feel super attractive. I think the other factor as well for me was that like coming out of high school and I think being around those people all the time, I didn't really want to be around anybody else that felt like they were guys from school. I didn't really find any attraction there because they felt like school kids, and so I kind of wanted to find something that was very different from that,
Yeah.
which is why I didn't date in high school because one, like the gossipy, as you said, like the nature of that is that your business becomes everybody's business, but the second thing being that like you in a way you grow up with these people. Like I knew some of the same people from school from kindergarten, so when I was about 4 or 5 years old, all the way until I graduated at 17. And in a way, because of that growing up together, they do like a lot of the people that you're around with, like we all kind of feel like kids. We don't really feel like fully formed
Yeah, but for
adults.
some people that makes you grow closer because you're like, I've known these people for so long. Like that's how most romances happen. Like familiarity breeds well, the saying is familiarity breeds contempt. So let's that's not what I'm trying to say, but familiarity can also breed like romance. You just proximate to each other. You're close to each other, so you just date. So
Yeah.
interesting you went the opposite. Was it almost a feeling of like I've known these people for so long that I can't see them as anything but just like my childhood friends?
Yeah, I think that was a part of it.
So you're judgmental. You put people in a box. I'm joking.
And the other part being that, yeah, the environment's just so gossipy that like
Yeah.
I didn't want to be a part of that and
Mm.
add to the infinite amounts of gossip that high schoolers can create.
Yeah, and again, maybe one of the points of this podcast or this video that we're doing today is if any of you were in your 30s or older than that and feeling like, man, I can't get with any women that are younger, you specifically are one of the women who's like, I don't like guys my age. I
Yeah,
just came
generally
out of high
speaking.
school. Yeah, I'm not interested in that. I specifically am searching for either an older guy or it could just be a guy in his, like you already said, you would have dated a guy in his 20s if he just had his shit together. And there are some guys and girls out there like that. It's just almost that life had to happen to you to get to that point.
Mm.
Like maybe if both your parents were killed in a car crash and you had to raise yourself, or if you're in a family where you had to raise a younger sibling or something, and that kind of forced you to grow up. Why do you think you specifically, you could almost phrase it as like you had a more mature mindset, like you're seeking older guys to be more
Mm.
mature.
Mm.
Why do you think that is? Do you think it's, yeah, let's just hear from you. Like,
Like
like
why did I have a drive to be more mature or like
yeah, like why couldn't you be with a guy who's 18 and, maybe a little bit immature, so to speak? Like, why were you seeking a more mature man?
I think at the time it was purely distilled to be like an attraction thing. And I don't think it
Like
was,
physical attraction or attracted to the qualities or both?
I think it's
You
both.
like gray, you like old gray silver fox beards.
I think because my idea of attraction is so psychological. Like you can be hot, but like I think you actually wrote an article about this, like that talked about like she's slept with somebody hotter than you, so stop being like worried and insecure about
Hey,
it.
let's give credit where credit is due. That's my boy Chris from Good Looking Loser.
Ah,
He did an
there you go.
article called "She's Already Fucked a Guy Uglier Than You." I then did a similar article called "Am I the Best That a Girl Has Ever Had?" And the
Mm,
answer was like, no, of course I'm not the best. Maybe she hasn't slept with many people, but she's probably slept with a guy that's more empathetic or more kind or hotter or has a bigger dick or something.
mm.
Like that's just the nature of life.
Yeah, I think for me personally, like obviously I can appreciate somebody that's very, very attractive. I think most people do. But I've always been somebody that's far more attracted to energy. And so if your energy is confident or powerful or masculine, that's what I find really attractive. And so
Hmm.
I, casually saw a few people that were very, very attractive, but the
Hmm.
energy was like insecure, a bit like
Yeah.
odd, a bit like socially, it's a bit judgmental, but like socially inept, like was very challenging to have a conversation. And
Do you just mean like not very good at talking? Like,
yeah, they just seemed a bit awkward, and I immediately found that unattractive versus somebody that's maybe slightly less physically attractive but has that self assurance. Then I found that far more attractive, and so yeah, I think just naturally over time, it's it's been a case when I've understood that I'm far more attracted to how my sense of a person
hmm.
rather than just how they look.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a lot of people. Again, that's something that other people will cherry pick and focus on. Like, oh, I just have to be. there's the meme, and it's not a meme, there's truth in it. Like, women just like bad boys. Women just get with hot guys, and it's like, yeah, some women, there's plenty of women like that, but there's also plenty of women that are like, all right, I just want him to be like above average in attractiveness, which you can just work on and improve yourself. And then I care more about the other qualities. You and I have kind of gone that way with women that we date. Obviously, there's a threshold of attractiveness. Like, she has to be over that threshold.
Of course.
If there's no physical attraction, if you're not attracted to her, then it's probably not going to be very fun sex. But you and I care about so many deeper things than just that, or so many other things other than just the attractiveness, which was a really interesting transition for me because at the start, yeah, all I cared about was like physical attractiveness. It's like, is she hot? Yes. Is she crazy? No. Or a little bit. Fine. Then sleep with her. But as I sort of got my fill and filled my bucket and realized there was like more out there, it's like, well, is she a decent person? Does she have anything else to offer? Is she fucking interesting? Or are you just going to stick your penis in her and then immediately not regret it, but almost get to have a feeling of like, well, I can't wait for her to leave now. I guess I'll cuddle her for 15 minutes because that's polite, and then I'll walk her to the train station and get rid of her. I had quite a few of those experiences, and then it started opening up of like, all right, well, there's got to be other stuff here. I don't want to just stick my penis in anyone in the first thing that moves that looks attractive. I want there to be some deeper stuff. Anyway, that's almost like a separate discussion. We can talk about that in another video if anyone cares. Feel free to leave a comment. What the fuck were we talking about before that?
Age and
Attractiveness,
being into older
age.
guys.
Yeah, there's like so much more you have to offer. Again, a lot of guys worry when I hit my 30s or when I hit my 40s, I'll be too old and no women will be attracted to me. It's like, think about all the other qualities that you will have to offer if you've been working on the self-improvement and building and stuff like that, which is why I have exercises that I get my clients to do, and all of you can do the same thing if you want to. Like, write a list of 50 things about yourself that are likable, and that shows you, holy shit, I have 50 qualities. And there'll be more than that. Everyone has like hundreds of qualities. You might have to go digging to find them. Might be a bit of a struggle to give yourself credit for them, but they're there.
And I think the other thing that's, I guess, worth mentioning is that aging is inevitable. I personally don't.
Really?
I don't love that statement.
Yeah,
I-
you're a woman. You're someone that's trying to fight aging and going like, I
Sure.
don't want to get old. And it's
I've,
like,
I've got my
well,
own beliefs about the differences between men and women aging, but that's a whole
You're gonna
other thing.
age.
That's something that I'm gonna work
you're
on.
gonna age
Keep working
gracefully,
on.
pretty lady. And if you don't, that's okay too.
But the nature of things is that you are going to age, and getting upset about it and worrying about it or telling yourself that it's all over once you hit a certain age doesn't serve you. And if
It's focusing on losing rather than playing to win. Yeah.
and if this thing called aging is going to happen anyway, you may as well try and make that as positive an experience as possible, and you can make it a good thing. You can make every year count so that you get better. So you were saying before that like some people talk about like what are the best years. You can make every year that you age the best year for you when it comes
100%.
to sex and dating if you want to.
Also, it's almost an irrelevant question anyway. What is the best age to get with women? It's like the age you're at right fucking now. What do you mean? Like, you
Yeah, like
can't
when's the
jump
best time
around
to
in
plant
the
a tree?
yeah, you can't jump around in the timeline and go, all right, well, we've all debated on it. We've jerked ourselves off on the internet with a fucking debate instead of going out there and taking action. We've all fucking done a circle jerk on the internet, and we've all decided that 25 is the perfect age to meet women. Fuck, I'm 30.
Yeah, and it very much
I can't
depends.
go back. Like, what are you going to fucking do about it? Or if you're like 20 and you're like, all right, 30 is the best age to meet women. Fuck, I have to sit here for 10 years not being 30.
Yeah,
Shit,
it
that
could
sucks.
very
Like,
much go in the reverse, in which if you haven't hit the said perfect age yet, you can be complacent and be like, oh, it'll all be great and
it's
perfect
fine. I'll just do
when
nothing until I hit 30 and then I'll be able to go and meet women. It's
and
like,
then you'll probably find out that because you haven't tried or practiced or given yourself much experience with trying to date, that the perfect year is actually a bit shitty.
the perfect year. It's like that Chinese proverb. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. And so same thing with your self-improvement. Don't worry about like, what is the perfect age, like for me to date women? What age are women most into? It's like, first of all, women are not some homogenous group that all think exactly the same thing. Like, they're like a hive mind. They're like,
Yeah. Yeah, the other
no,
thing to consider is that like depending on what you want, there's probably going to be different like perfect ages. Like if you're wanting younger women, there's going to be a better perfect age, and if you're wanting like more mature women, there's going to be a better perfect age. Like, it's all really,
But how would we even know that?
yeah.
We'd all have to sit around and, like I said, circle jerk on the internet, which how does that even help you? Even if we somehow reached a consensus, we crunched the numbers, we figured out, all right, this is the perfect age to date younger women. You can't just like be that age. Like, what the fuck? And also, like you said, let's say we decide the perfect age to date younger women is 30, and you happen to be 30 right now. That might even give you some fucking complacency. You might be like, well, I'm 30. I don't have to try. I'm 30. And it's like, no.
It doesn't really do actually do much for
Yeah.
you.
Or I'm not 30. Fuck. It's hopeless. I can't do it. What's the point? I'm too old, or I'm too young, or I'm too this, or I'm too that. It's so easy to play the comparison game and say I'm not good enough.
Yeah,
But yeah.
age very much feels like an arbitrary thing in dating, at least for us. Like,
You realize how arbitrary, like, if you just pick any quality of a
mm,
human being and then only use that quality to try and predict dating success, which is what a lot of you fucking do. Holy shit, so many of you do. You're like, I'm short, therefore I won't have dating success. It's like, okay, so you just walk around like this person would go to a party. Some of these motherfuckers, some of you beautiful human beings would go to a party and someone's like, hi, my name's Daniel, nice to meet you. And you're like, I'm short. And you're like, oh, tell me about yourself. Well, I'm short. Okay, like, what do you do for work? I'm just fucking short, bro. Okay, like, what do you do with your friends? I just be short, bro. I'm a fucking short loser. Like, that's all I have to offer. And you're like, do you want to have a conversation about anything else other than you being short? No, bro, what's the point? I'm short. No one fucking gives a shit about anything except that I'm short. It's like, holy fuck, you're short obsessed. Or guys that have premature ejaculation or erectile dysfunction, or they feel that they're too old, or this or that, or I have too much weight. Any of this stuff, it's like they've just pigeonholed themselves down into that, objectified themselves down into that one cherry picked little part of themselves. And it's not the full breadth of who you are as a human being. It's like one part of your personality or your body. It's like so meaningless in the grand context of everything else you have to offer in dating.
yeah, and it's funny. Like, I think pulling it back to friends can often be. It can give you a little bit of perspective. Like, the things that we obsess about in dating are often not things that we give a shit about when it comes to
Yeah.
your friends. Like, if you have mates that aren't going to be friends with you because you're short,
You'd
that's
be
not
like,
really.
fuck that guy. Fuck. Yeah, if some guy was like, hey, bro, we've all talked and we've decided we don't want to be friends with you anymore because you're 5'3",
Yeah, I feel
you'd
like
be like, well, fuck you guys. What the fuck? You're supposed to have my back. Fine, go away. You're not good friends then.
I feel
Great.
like for me at least that's a very good sounding board of
Mm.
things that actually like that I guess have more value for me personally.
Mm.
Like, the qualities that a friend would be looking for are the things that I'd want a partner to be looking for
Yeah,
as
like
well.
why would this is the thing I say all the time when guys are like, oh, but like this, it's so hard for me, Andy. And I get that you have emotions and all of that. But guys will say, it's so hard for me. I go on Tinder and I saw like 4 girls today that said 6 foot guys and over. Like, if you're not over 6 foot, don't talk to me.
Mm.
And it really broke me down and it really hurt me and all of that. And I get all the emotions, but like, good. Why the fuck would you want to date someone that says, I don't want to date you? Like, like, what are you trying to accomplish there? And the thing with dating apps is it sort of puts it all out there, and there's so many things that you can sort of judge yourself on and hurt yourself with of like, oh, fuck, this girl didn't reply to me, that hurts. This person says 6 foot only guys, that hurts. This, in the reverse for women, this guy said no fat chicks. And by the way, most guys don't put that in their profile, but there might be some guy who writes no fat chicks in his profile, and you happen to have a little bit of weight right now and you hurt yourself with that. You hurt yourself with the story of like, fuck, I am overweight. That hurts. Everyone hates me. No, just this one person doesn't want to date you.
Mm.
And again, it's sort of like cherry picking that one little thing and getting really stuck on it. But with friendships, I'm sure if you went out there, like let's say there was an app for friends, and I guess there is, Bumble has a friendship section.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say there was an app for making friends. People would put what they're looking for in a friend. They'd be like, I'm not looking for people who are dishonest, or I'm not looking for this, or I want guys that are into fishing. I want to make some friends that are into fishing. If you then didn't do fishing or you weren't into fishing, you'd probably see that and feel hurt. Like, it would be like dating. It's just that that's not how we usually make friends. And so dating is more confrontational. Like, basically
Mm.
your statement was like, why do we take dating more seriously than friendships, I think just because, first of all, there's a lot of emotionality and there's this big fucking glamorization of dating and sex and relationships.
Finding a partner and
Yeah,
being
you're a
happy
fucking
forever.
loser if you're a virgin. You're a
Yeah.
fucking loser if you don't have a soulmate. You're a fucking loser if you don't have enough sex. There's all of that kind of stuff. And so I think we just bring more emotionality to dating. But yeah, I agree with you. Dating is not really any different from making friends. Like if you went to a party and talked to a bunch of people as friends and like didn't connect with five of them, but then you really hit it off with one person and you decided to be friends with that person, you wouldn't be fucking like heartbroken that the other four people didn't click with you. You wouldn't be taking it personally. If those other four people were like, yeah, I don't want to talk to you anymore, you'd be like, cool.
Yeah.
Like that's fine.
And I think even like when you could also point out that like one other difference between friends and dating is that there generally needs to be a level of physical attraction. I would even go so far to say that like generally speaking, the friends that I keep, I would want them to just like as a quality to look after themselves and to be generally fit and active. Like that's something that I really care about. And as a,
As like an act of self-love almost.
yeah, basically. And as a byproduct of that, like if you look after your health and yourself and your grooming, then you tend to look fairly attractive and generally pass that benchmark for like base level of attraction. I think, or at least I've definitely found that just screening for qualities, as we've said, like somebody that we actually like as a person and has attractive personality traits to, I mean, it's always been something that I've probably put a lot of priority on, but even more so as time's gone on.
Yeah. And on the age thing, over on my blog, I did an interview with this guy called Days of Game, or he uses the name Nash from Days of Game. And he's a really interesting character because he is 50. And so in this interview, if you just search for the word 50, I specifically asked him that question. You know, I said, you're 50, I'm 36. So I wrote this like last year. I love the idea of still being supposedly in the game like you are when I'm 50, like still having an incredibly satisfying sex life. How many people just think like, oh, I'll be 50, I'll be old, I won't have sex, it won't be very good. And what advice would you give your 36-year-old self? Because, you know, I was 36. And he said, I didn't even start like trying to date women until I was 35. And so if you're one of those people who's like, oh, it's going to be too late for me, you know, I'm never going to have a great dating life, whether you're a man or a woman, this guy is out there at 50. And we've had quite a few coaching clients who were in their 50s and 40s. And one guy that was like 59. And yeah, like there are plenty of women out there that will still date you even if you're in your 50s or even if you're in your 60s. Like you said, if you have your shit together or if you're working by 50, I'd expect you to have your shit together. But if you don't, that's okay. Just start now. Again, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Second best time is right now. We also, something else I really want to discuss. You talked before about how younger guys often just haven't had enough time to really get their life together. And if you're younger and that's you, that's okay. Like I didn't have my life together till, I don't know, 30 something. So it's okay. You got time. But we also said that it doesn't necessarily guarantee just because you're older, you will have your life together. Like that's not a guarantee. Do you know the woman that's in the coaching program right now? We have a woman in the coaching program and this is her third round of coaching. She likes it so much. She's come back twice or three times. The first round wanted to get into BDSM. That was kind of what she came to us for coaching. Like, help me with my stoicism, help me with all of that. But really, I'm coming to you for BDSM and to date. I want to learn how to date casually. I've only ever been married and had like a really long-term relationship and all of that sort of stuff. I want to know how dating works. How does casual dating work? How do I make sure that I'm safe? How do I make sure that I'm going to have a good time? Because she wanted to explore BDSM as a submissive and she'd done bits of that in the past with her husband, but like not with new partners. How do I do all of that sort of stuff? And she's a little older. I don't actually know how old she is. I'm guessing 40s, probably. I'm not very good at telling ages of people, but I'm guessing she's in her 40s. And you would expect that the people that she's screening for, dominant 40, 50, she said she would date 60-year-olds, but like dominant 40, 50, 60-year-old men, you would expect that they would just have their life together. Like that's just the assumption. And we all sort of made that assumption together. We're like,
I
yeah,
think because you are in self-improvement
yeah,
communities, you expect that everybody else is like that.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
think sometimes early on when we would talk about dating, you almost had a solipsism of like, all guys are reliable, they're not flaky, they have their shit
yeah.
together.
Remember that shit?
And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, that's not been my experience.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So many guys have that, especially because I came from the red pill. So the red pill sort of has this philosophy that women are the problem, women are useless, women are disloyal, women are flaky, women are all of that kind of stuff, and men are the loyal, reliable, good ones. Men are good, women are bad. It's kind of like reverse feminism.
Mm. Yeah.
And so I really did believe that like men are ultra reliable, and a lot of you men will fucking believe that too. You're like, men are reliable. A man would never flake. If a man says he's going to do something, he'll bloody well do it. It's the women that don't show up to dates. It's the women that are unreliable. It's the women that forget and ghost and all of that. No, it's basically exactly 50-50. You really come to see that if you date enough women and ask them about their experiences. Like, here's a fun little experiment for all of you guys out there. Every woman that you date or sleep with, ask her, what has your dating experience been like? Have you had any guys ever flake on you? Do guys ever just like ghost you and stop replying? And every woman will be like, yeah, they fucking do. And you're like, wait, really?
It's
What?
just a people thing,
Yeah,
especially
it's
a
a people thing.
people to online date thing. But yes, you
Yeah.
had this client and you expected that.
I expected to some degree that the men would be a little bit more having their shit together than they did. We'll phrase it like that.
Mm.
Because they're guys in their 40s, 50s, and I think she was dating mostly guys in their 40s and 50s. And she went on a lot of dates, like a lot of first dates. And then she was just like, yeah, I don't think I'll be seeing that guy again. And we're like, why? What was it like? And she's like, he was nice enough, but like he still lives at home with his parents. Or,
In 40s, 50s,
yeah,
60s,
yeah.
or
Or
ugh.
he really, really, really doesn't have his shit together, and he's like, all he ever does is play video games and come home from work and just crash on the couch and all of that. Or he's just over the top needy. And I explained to him, I screened for him. She screened in her dating profile. We got her to put it in the actual dating profile. I'm a professional woman. I am extremely fucking busy. I run multiple companies. Like, I'm just an independent person. I'm looking for something like casual, like friends with benefits. Like, we can see each other for a long time, but like, I'm not going to hang out with you every fucking day. I'm not going to just be there with you constantly, like cuddling you and all of that. Like, we'll do all that shit, but like, I got a life to live, and she has kids and all of that kind of stuff. So she's like, I'm fucking busy. I'm screening for that. But there were quite a few guys that made it through that filter. They somehow dodged this screening process and would go on a date, and then they would text her the next day and be like, hey, like, are you free today? And she'd be like, hey, like I said, I'd love to see you a couple days from now. I'm just a bit busy. And then he would text her, and there was that one guy I remember that sang her a song, wrote her a
You
poem,
told
and
me about
sang
it,
her a
yeah.
song when they hadn't been on a date yet. So they hadn't even gone on a first date. They just texted a couple of
And the extra
times.
context was because she was feeling overwhelmed by the amount of people that she was speaking to, she like called a few things off with people that she'd only messaged.
Oh yeah, I
And
forgot
that's
that. Yeah, so she
why
specifically
he
told
did that.
him. So she specifically said to him, "Hey, just look, I'm too overwhelmed. I'm too busy. I just don't have enough time." And so yeah, it was nice talking to you, but let's leave it there, please. Like, let's go separate ways. And then you're right. Yeah, he sent her a bunch of messages and then sang her a song, and wasn't even good singing, but he was doing his best. But
Yeah.
yeah, there were just like a few of those experiences, and that kind of surprised me because I guess my, like you said, default assumption was that older guys must all have their shit together to some degree. And that is definitely an assumption. That was a big assumption on my part.
Yeah, I guess if you, and obviously this isn't going to be for everybody, there's always going to be exceptions. But I guess if you are dating and you haven't met somebody in your 40s, 50s, 60s, there are going to be plenty of people who are like left over that maybe don't have their shit together and so weren't able to
Yeah.
meet somebody that was wanting to like long-term partner up with them, or even just like they might be single for a reason, is maybe what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
It's almost like this is a really big
Of
generalization,
course.
really big generalization, but it's almost like the good ones got snapped up.
Hmm.
Like, if you're a guy that has your shit together, you're pretty attractive, you're loyal, you're ready to build a relationship with someone and have a family and all of that, women will be clambering over themselves to grab you and lock you down. And maybe that's a strong phrasing, but build something with you. And so, yeah, if you're in your 50s and single, It might be because you don't have your life together. I agree with that statement. I think that's a fair statement. There will be exceptions to that. She was one of the exceptions. You know,
Yeah.
maybe your husband died and so you're now widowed and you're getting back into the dating game. Yeah, there'll be those, but even those people will probably get snapped up.
Yeah, you're probably not if you if you're somebody that's looking to not keep casually dating,
Yeah,
and you've got your shit together, you're probably not going to be casually dating for
you're not
very
going to
long.
be
Like
single
you're
for very long. Well, that's her. She's now been seeing a guy for I think like a year and a half now, and
yeah.
it's casual.
Mm.
I think it's open, but they're both. I think they're both only really sleeping with each other. But yeah, and he seems like a pretty nice dude. He's got his shit together. He's attractive. He's definitely the dominant BDSM guy that she was looking for.
Mm.
He plays in a band, and she really likes that. He has a good job. Like he has friends. He seems from what she said. Because one of our clients ended up meeting him. I told you that, right? Her accountability
Oh,
partner.
yeah, actually, no, you
Yeah,
did.
they met.
Mm.
So something that we do in the coaching program is we get everyone to have an accountability partner, and her accountability partner ended up meeting him because he was just they met up. You know, quite a lot of our clients will meet each other and hang out and all of that. And so they met up, and she was like, "Do you want to meet the guy that I'm seeing?" And he was like, "Hell yeah, let's do it." And so he really liked him. He said, "Like, yeah, you got a good one. This guy's a good." So you're right. That kind of just ties into what we're saying. Anyone in their 40s or 50s or 60s, if they have their shit together, whatever that means for all of you listening, then yeah, they're probably going to find someone within a few months. Maybe if they keep their options open and they're busy and they're dating just casually within like a year or two. Like you
We've
wouldn't
said,
expect them to be single for the next 5 years.
we've said this before actually, because obviously the nature of like when we're seeing women, it is casual, and so quite often like we for the most part, for the majority of the duration of our relationship, like we've been on dating apps to meet other women together as a couple. But sometimes we do see women like over years, and you're
Mm.
like, oh, I recognize that profile. Like I
Yeah,
feel like
you
I've
see a
seen
woman on a
her,
dating app for years and years and years and years
and you're
and
like, oh,
years.
I
Yeah.
wondered what's up. Like she's not met
I
somebody,
think I've
what's
told
been
you, I've talked to
happening.
some of those people and mentioned that to them.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's usually just they're like, oh, I can't find a good guy, or I can't, I'm single, I'm not single, I'm single, I'm not single.
Hmm.
Yeah, like that's their journey. They're getting to that point where they're
Yeah.
like figuring themselves out and all of that shit. Yeah.
Yeah, but ultimately, I guess circling back to like if you are a guy and you're afraid about getting older or you want to date younger women, like there's plenty of options out there, and I think that the summation of everything that we've been saying is just work on being the best version of yourself and improving yourself,
Yeah.
and that's all that really matters. And if you're doing that and you have your shit together again, whatever that might mean for you, you're not really going to have that much in the way of issues.
Yeah, for sure. And the same thing applies to women. We'll give a little olive branch to any women. Like my coaching client in the coaching group,
Mm.
like I said, she's in her 40s. She might be older than that, but she's at least in her 40s. Her kids are quite old, so she probably is older than that.
Mm.
She's done a lot to look decent, like put a lot of work into herself. Anyway,
Raping review.
she, no, I got a lot of love for her. I like her a lot. Anyway, she's a woman in her 40s, maybe her 50s. I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't know how old she is, but yeah, there's plenty of women in their 50s that are fucking crushing it. You just have to work on yourself. The same stuff that applies to men, you know, just work on your appearance, work on your freaking self-love, especially that one. I think that's something that a lot of people skip,
Mm.
like the self-love, the confidence, all that stuff. But basically just work on yourself. There are options out there. Yeah, I think it's an obvious statement that when you're in your 50s, as a woman and maybe even as a man, probably as a man, yeah, you might have less options. Like that's an obvious statement. But people often take the less options thing to mean that means I have to have a lower quality of people that I date,
Yeah. Or
or I
that
have
there's
to
no, that there's
settle.
only like 3 women out there that will be into me, and
Yeah.
like that.
And it's like, no, 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 no. There'll be a gem out there. It's just that you have a smaller pool. So either improve yourself or play the numbers game and talk to way more people, or do both. I would recommend you do both. That applies to men and women. So just because you have a smaller pool, which is the main thing that people focus on, they're like, shit, as I get older, I'm going to have a smaller dating pool. I'm going to have less options. Yeah, no shit. So try harder. Like, that's just it, literally. And same thing with height and anything else. Guys will go, "Oh, I'm shorter, so I have less options." Yeah, no shit. So try harder. Like, what the fuck? Just try harder. So it doesn't have to be a barrier. It doesn't have to be a limiting belief. Like, it's not binary. It's not like, oh, I hit 40 and now no one in the entire fucking world will give me a chance and go on a date with me. No. You can be 80 and there will be people that will give you a chance. You might have a smaller dating pool, yes, You might need to improve yourself a lot more. Yes, you might need to have more to offer than just your 80-year-old beautiful body, but there are more things out there that you can offer. There are more people out there. Go talk to more people, improve yourself along the way. It's not fucking hopeless, I guess is what we're saying. There's always something you can do.
For sure.
Hell yeah. Anything else to add?
Mm-mm.
All right, beautiful people. Fucking, you're not too old. If you feel too old, I'm happy to jump on a coaching call with you and remind you that you have more to offer than just your age, more to offer than just your body. If you're a man, if you're a woman, if you're somewhere in between, I will happily coach you. What's in between?
In between
Man and a
what?
woman. Like if you had half a penis or half a vagina,
Well, I
that
was saying having both, which makes you a hermaphrodite.
that'd be sick as fuck. Then you could be like, go fuck yourself. Anyway, all the genders out there. Do you know how many genders there are?
Wait,
I fucking
so
love to bring this up on the
I've gotten
podcast
so
because no matter
distracted. But
what
if
you,
you're a hermaphrodite, do you have a womb? And then do you also produce semen? In which case, can you impregnate yourself?
oh, that'd be so cool, bro.
Anyway.
Probably wouldn't be good for the gene pool though, because you're not mixing DNA
No.
and stuff. Yeah. Anyway, how many,
Side point.
however many genders there are out there, I've just offended everyone in the audience by saying that. Because people who are like, there's only
yeah.
2 genders,
Yeah.
they'll get real mad. And then the people who are like, there's fucking 73 different genders, they'll
Well
get
done.
mad. And so whatever number of genders you believe there are out there, no matter which gender you are or which fucking whatever you are, I promise you there's some other person out there who wants to get down with you, wants to get freaky with you, wants to fucking stick their tongue in your butthole and do whatever other weird stuff you're all into. Go out there and crush your goals.